Big dreams are still in Africa, and sometimes these dreams are shaped not in shiny startups but in the digital corridors of our governments. Today, on CoLeaders for Africa, I'm honored to welcome a visionary who transforms how public services reach citizens with purpose, impact, and tech innovation. Tarik Fadli is the founder of Algo Consulting Group and the platform Wraqi.ma, a pioneer in digital public service access in Morocco. From electronic document legalization to smart citizen engagement, his key figure is rethinking e-administration. He was recently recognized with a national partnership signed with the Ministry of Digital Transformation and Administration Reform led by Madame Amal Sarrochni during GITEX Africa 2020 in Marrakesh. Congratulations again, Tarek, and welcome to CoLeaders for Africa.
Thank you, Mariam, for this nice introduction. I'm really honored and very happy to be on your podcast today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarek. Your name has become synonymous with digital reform in Morocco. Can you take us back to your journey and how did you find your calling in public innovation?
Well, I'm gonna quote one of my favorite titles, Steve Jobs, who said that you can only connect the dots when you look backwards. Um, uh, my early experience, I've always been in software development in the US early on, placing or writing new systems that replace, paperwork back in the early 2000s. And that, continued on until I found myself today in Morocco, and the nature of project that I worked with Microsoft and with Algo was for public administration. And being Moroccan and being a victim to heavy bureaucracy, and again, having worked for government entities, we saw that we have difficulties taking off in e-services for government, and there's a lot of handicaps, a lot of obstacles that we're facing, and one of them is heavy paper trail and lack of trust and societal trust. So we have these pertaining procedures that are sitting there like signature legalization or notary, that the law was put in place in 1913 in Morocco by the French protectorate, and then it was modified in 1956 during our independence, and it hasn't been touched ever since. And then we see other initiatives of digitalization that copy other countries and other governments. And the philosophy that we're following is that just we have to be innovative in our own way, because certain technologies, certain approaches have worked for other countries, might not work for us necessarily here in Morocco or in Africa. So we have to have our own sauce. We already have our own sauces in culinary arts. So we have to come up with our own sauce for digitalization.
Definitely, indeed. And Wraqi.ma has also become a reference for accessible citizen-first services. What was your original intention when launching it?
We have this situation that I think is not only particular to Morocco, but I think the same problem exists in all of French-speaking Africa, which is societal trust. We require citizens to go and sign any document in front of someone, and all the government initiatives that I saw, they never talk about this procedure. They talk about e-justice, e-health. They talk about education. They talk about online creation for companies, for instance. So let's take that as an example. Let's say you want to create your company online. A lot of countries have portals where you can do that. I remember back in 2005 or 2004, when I was still in the US, I created a company in half an hour. That's not something that you could do here. So this example of this portal that was launched by OMPIC and Ministry of Justice, well, you cannot do that. You can't do that because somewhere in the process, you have to get your document notarized in front of someone and then submit it. Same thing for public tenders and public RFPs. We have this beautiful portal in Morocco, marchepublic.ma,
Mhm.
that you digitally submit your bid. But guess what? During that digital submission, you have to notarize some documents. So you cannot fully adopt digitized services or 100% while you still have paper that needs to be signed manually. So the idea was to get rid of these 2,400 offices that provide the service,
Mhm.
and put a machine there. So today we have a mobile app that witnesses you signing and uses your biometrics integrated with the police system and authorized by CNDP. So your data is protected, and then you can sign electronically 24/7 and provide that document into other digitized processes. So this was the niche that we're trying to solve in the first place. And when we tackled this, it just opened up a lot of use cases that we're seeing now with many public and private sectors.
Interesting. When you bring up this perspective, I was wondering maybe is there a target, a date that will allow us to have complete process digitally to put on online on a portal like Marché Public in Morocco or others in Africa?
Well,
100%.
the big date is that the big target is 2030, but right now, as far as our platform is concerned, it is already live. We have 33,000 early adopters that are using the platform. We're about 50 people a day. We're not communicating yet because the manual service that's provided in the 2,400 offices, there's, excuse me, there's a new law that's coming out that will abolish this procedure. So this is also a huge change management. I mean, like I said, since 1956, Moroccans are used to this. I mean, it's in our blood. Nobody here will sign a document if it doesn't have a stamp on it and it doesn't have the
Yeah.
DNA that you put on the paper. So it's a huge change management. It's taken a while, but the platform is here. So
Uh-huh.
in order to create like a real disruption and a real rupture, the Ministry of Interior has decided to push a law to just abolish this manual service, and now the alternative is that.
Nice, very interesting. Thank you for clarifying this point because I think it's very, very important for the future. And now, coming back to your work, who touched both public institutions and everyday citizens' life. What does transforming with trust mean to you?
Well, it's a very good question. It also reflects the nature of doing business in Morocco and in Africa. Part of the obstacles, I mean, like you said, this has been a 10-year project. Normally in the North, Europe, Canada, or the US, this initiative would have been a 2 to 3 years, maybe 4-year initiative. And we saw similar projects in UAE, in Portugal, South Korea, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, who's today ranked number 6 worldwide in eGov. I mean, these are, like I said, 3 to 5 year maximum projects. I mean, we've been at it for 10 years. The reasons for it taking this long, there's so many. I mean, I could list them off, but I don't want to dwell on that. But part of it is trust. It's important to, when you innovate and you create disruption for government sector, it doesn't belong to you. The government sector is not a free market. It's not like when you disrupt transportation or you disrupt other sectors. So you're trying to disrupt a well-established government system that has over 100 years old now. 110 years to be precise, if we count 1913. It takes people a while to trust you. I mean, you can go pitch your ideas, but the people that you're dealing with are well-established people. I mean, they have experience. They thought of solutions as well, and it's really important to come in there and just show them a working product. You cannot just show up with a PowerPoint and say, hey, this is an idea. I mean, everybody has ideas, everybody has PowerPoints. You invest in your idea and you're able to somehow bootstrap it, finance it, build an MVP, be able to do a proof of concept,
Mhm.
deploy a pilot. Like we all say, in God we trust. Everybody else bring data. So when you bring your data and you show these government entities, you establish trust because now you're not just some guy speaking of an idea. You're some guy with an idea that's showing result on in real life situations. So then they take you seriously and they're able to go with you along. And I think that's a very important question. It's you establish trust by really showing a working product, not just an idea.
Okay, so now let's set the scene. According to Morocco Digital 2030 Roadmap, Morocco aims to create more than 240,000 digital jobs, achieve 100 billion dirhams in digital GDP, and improve its UN e-government index rank in Africa. Of course, the source is the Ministry of Digital Transformation, Transition and Administration Reform of 2024. Morocco has digitalized over 600 public services, including 300, more than 300 for citizens directly, according to the Digital Development Agency. How do these national ambitions translate into opportunities or pressure for platforms like Wraqi.ma?
Well, what we have done is that we've identified 600 services, and I think the Morocco 2030 vision is pretty clear. Now, what's really interesting and exciting to a lot of people in the IT domain in Morocco is the recent changes. I mean, we have a new minister that's an IT professional, an academic, and we also have a new young manager for the digital agency. And we also have we're feeling that we're creating a rupture with the old ways of doing things. And that's really reassuring for a lot of us because again, I'm gonna quote Einstein this time is, Einstein said, doing the same thing and expecting a different results is insane. So what we're seeing right now is we're doing things differently. The new leadership has a keen vision and they're doing things differently. We're an example of trusting startups and local entrepreneurs and not looking to the West to do things. And this is also instigated by His Majesty's vision and guidance to push us towards a South-South collaboration. I mean, Africa is the future. This is what it's happening. And we have to innovate within and look for ways to do things within. So this will create tremendous opportunities. When you're talking about 600 services now, keep in mind there are probably 20 or 30 that are used frequently. Um, the fact that these services are geared towards companies, businesses, this creates a new segment of a marketplace where entrepreneurs and innovators will find tons of things to do within. So um,
Mhm.
times ahead are very exciting.
Interesting. And are we moving from a culture of bureaucracy to one of user experience?
I think so. I think again, I know there's a lot of initiatives. We are just one of many initiatives that are being launched by the ministry and by the agency as well. I think that the innovation is just not technological. It's even in the way we're doing things, where we have these new laws that we worked on that allows entities like the ministry to sign contracts directly with carriers of innovative ideas, with startups that have pertinent solutions. So that opens up also a new segment of market. There is a lot to be explored. I mean, we're like I said, we're really stepping out of the old schema of doing things, public tenders, big projects. We're inviting huge companies. Yes, huge companies, big editors like the GAFAMs are, of course, they have their place. And but the innovation doesn't often come from them. The innovation comes from, the guy like us who suffer with muqata and suffer with muqaddam and don't want to stand in lines and want the service instantaneously. This new generation that's coming that has a short attention span that will not wait 2 to 3 days for a document. So all of this, again, creates a whole new segment, and it's promising because we are really breaking with the way we're doing things. And give an example, revenue sharing, for instance. Wraqi, we're not selling this the solution in a typical model. We're operating it, and this also helps the administration to break with the way of doing things. So it's like PPP, public-private partnership, where I bring in this startup, I let it operate the solution, I don't pay it, okay? It generates money from the users because the users, they're paying for an instantaneous service, they're paying for a quality of service, they're paying for support, they're paying for security, and that revenue that's generated is being shared back with the ministry, and the ministry now is generating money or the agency is generating money to invest in other startups, to invest in other projects. So we're creating a whole new way of doing things where, of course, it wasn't, it's not easy to do things because a certain level of transparency is required. And in that, there's trust also to be established. And I think when you're transparent and have nothing to hide, you're not scared of signing anything and doing anything. And I think that's the case of the new leadership government side and for us.
Indeed. Maybe you can tell us more about the challenges and what do you see as key barriers today? Is it for you technical or cultural or maybe something else to put into the ground this kind of projects?
I mean, in our case, like I said, it's a number of things. So like I said, the electronic signature laws, the change management, the acquisition laws, because you innovate, you create a solution, and then to sell it to the government, they have to launch an RFP, a tender for you to answer, and then your competition, they can come in, download the specifications and develop exactly your ideas. So there was no incentive for innovators, and that is changing slowly with the laws. But I think, like we say in French, il faut rendre à César ce qui est dû à César. It takes a lot of political courage to do something like this, and I think the minister, Madame Ahmad Saroujni, has that political courage to say, "Hey, I'm gonna break away with old ways of doing things, and I have someone that has an available product, and why not? Why not try it?" So again, political courage is.
Yeah, indeed. So we were talking about the decision makers, and now I'm going back to the citizens. Wraqi.ma allows online signature, legalizations, and certified document access. Things that used to require long lines and stamps, as you said. What has been the citizen response or feedback so far?
I think I speak for my team and I speak also for the ministry because they're involved in this project. The messages of support that we've been getting, especially from Moroccans abroad that often needed to travel where the consulate is. For instance, I lived in the US. To get a document signed for my parents for something to do, I had to fly from Denver, Colorado to New York. And often, flying 5 hours in one day, take a hotel room, and then be at the risk of being told that document you have to redo it, or the guy who is supposed to do this service is not here. I mean, I'm talking 20 years ago. Of course, services in the consulates have improved, but to be able to just do this within 30 seconds,
Yeah.
for a fraction of the price, we've been getting a lot of messages that really comfort us and really, I mean, there is no money that you can make on this planet that's worth that recognition. So that is a source of inspiration. That is a source of pride. And our goal is to accompany the ministry's vision for Digital Morocco 2030 to completely by 2030 have a paperless Moroccan administration where everything is done via your mobile app and you don't need to show up anywhere. Why not even the justice system that's already, happening somewhere else?
Are going to stay tuned, and we're really looking forward to it. So you've mentioned and often mentioned actually that Wraqi.ma was built with the people, with your team, with the ministry, with the administration, not just for them. What does that design philosophy look like in practice?
Well, like I said, one of the challenges that we tried to solve is that early on we saw that Moroccan administrations they're doing a great job. I mean, a lot of administrations are doing what they can, and when I say what they can, is that a lot of people have to understand that they have constraints. They have lots of constraints, and they're legal constraints, economic constraints, resources constraints. Keeping IT guys in Morocco has been a challenge for private and public sectors. With all these challenges facing the administration did a good job in maintaining its own IT system. So let's say when you talk to administration A and you talk to administration B, they have their own priorities. So someone needed to come in and say, let's have a citizen centric design. Let's focus on what the citizen needs. And nobody can do that when you have 18 ministries around. Everybody is worried about their own
Hmm.
priorities and concerns, which is totally legitimate.
Yeah.
So the digital agency's role, one of the roles was that when it was created in the end of 2017. We started in 2015 with this vision of putting the citizen and the company. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to go to one place, do one user experience, and not jump through hoops and get my document instantly. That's the objective. Okay. No
Mm-hmm.
paper, no travel, one user experience, and get instantaneous access to what I need. So it's true that we took a little bit of time to get to this point, but since we're late, why not start where other people have finished?
Mm-hmm.
Why, when we don't need to travel through the entire processes and methodologies that all other countries that are ranked the top 10 countries in eGov, we don't have to do exactly like them. We can study them, get inspired, understand the problems that they're facing, what they solve, and then where they stop, we take that as a starting point with our own objective. For instance, what we trying to do with Wraqi, the ministry has already worked on legal framework for interoperability. And again, was something that His Majesty spoke about back in 2016, and then in 2018 is make the citizen at the center of all your preoccupations and make it easy. Do not ask a citizen to go get a paper from another administration. So for this, we need interoperability. There's a huge investment made in a government gateway that connects the administration so they can talk to each other digitally. So what we're trying to do is take what we have capitalized on what we established already. We have many things going, like the virtual identity provided by DGSN, by the police, the gateway provided by the ADD, the legal frameworks that we have. And then there is this nice decree that the minister is working on to push every CIO of the government to publish data uh, via the gateway, okay? And using Wraqi, what you will get is that any document that belongs to you that has your ID on it can be instantly available on your app when you get to it. So so the goal of Wraqi is to provide you really instant access. When I say instant, that means we don't need to require documents for Wraqi. You just need to enter Wraqi and all the documents that belong to you that are sitting on government servers will be there. So this is a unique, innovative model that doesn't exist worldwide because in most countries, what you have to do is request. I mean, we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
even skip the request part. You just have to have your Wraqi account with your virtual identity, and then instantaneously you're going to have all your documents on the app. So this is going to be a one of a kind approach.
Okay, clear. Very, very interesting and ambitious at the same time. And now, while we are talking about Wraqi.ma, which is an amazing example for the African continent, if we fast forward 5 years, what do you want Wraqi.ma to look like across the continent?
Well, like I said, most of the problems that we're solving apply to French speaking countries in Africa because we have unfortunately inherited the same bureaucratic processes from occupation, from protectorate. We already are in discussion with one other country that's looking to adopt Wraqi in a white label. I mean, their own version of Wraqi. What's nice about Wraqi is that we can quickly customize it to fit within the country's context. So a lot of French-speaking African countries have the same problem. If we take, for instance, the example of Senegal, I mean, Senegal, you have to go to the police station to get your signature notarized. And it's not just any policeman that has to do it, it's the chief of police. So often you have to put it there and come back. Let's take Egypt, for instance. Egypt, people stand in a line for hours and often they have to come back to get their signature notarized. So, but then again, signature notary is just one part of the services we provide. The idea is to have all government services as is accessible in the app. What's nice about French speaking or African countries is that their ID system is very modern. Okay? If you compare it to France, for instance, the ID system of France is very old. It's hardly biometric. The cards are not smart. If you take countries like Ivory Coast, like Senegal, like Congo, I mean, they have state-of-the-art ID system, and that could be used for digital signature, that can be used to carry your files and provides much more flexibility. The fact that these countries are young in terms of digitization will allow us to jump quickly and skip infrastructure, for instance, with using satellite internet that's provided by companies like Starlink in the US, South Korean companies, Chinese companies. I mean, right now, deploying solutions like this in Africa doesn't have to take 5 years. It could take few months because infrastructure is not an issue. Most people have smartphones now,
Mhm.
and connectivity can be really, really tackled pretty quickly. Well,
And
even
AI
electricity.
and artificial intelligence.
Of course, that's the scary part of things.
Yeah, exactly. Tarek, during JTEX Africa, you've signed an important convention with the Moroccan Ministry of Digital Transition. Can you walk us through the purpose of this agreement and what it unlocks for citizens, administrations alike?
Well, this was a very, very emotional event for me and my team because it's an official recognition of the hard work of the years of work that we put in. It wasn't the first one, but it was the official one. The first recognitions were, of course,
Mhm.
other ministries that we worked with and government entities like Ministry of Interior, the Moroccan Customs. But like I said, this new minister has the bravery to sign. Either, I mean, signing something like that between a ministry and a private sector is it's not something that you see every day. Also, I've been encouraged in His Majesty's speech that encouraged the public and private sector to work together to modernize the administration. So again, political courage, and I really want to thank this lady because it's just a breath of fresh air. It's someone that inspires, someone that encourages people like me to endeavor and just do things. So this MOU that we signed basically will allow us, will give us a period of time where the ministry and us, a private actor, to see how we can transfer to the government while innovating on the model. So it's basically says that we have a calendar to explore collaboration and to see what else we can do on the platform that is aligned with the Digital Morocco 20.
So, is it related to research and development?
Yes, it's actually it just comes in as a support. What's nice about it is that it's wide open and it doesn't limit us or the ministry into one frame. It's really a way of saying, hey, let's see what this innovation can do for Morocco. Let's see how can we improve it and how can we make it a better fit for citizens and companies and how can we align it with the vision. Well,
Convention.
the first one is we are stepping out of the pilot phase. It gives it legitimacy. And also the fact that we've been testing this for so long, we have a return on the pilot phase. We have feedback that are shared. We have data now that we can base the decisions on. Now we know what to do, we know what not to do. So,
Okay,
and I always
great.
say it's better to know what not to do and leave the space open on to what to do.
Great. From this model, what do you hope to build from it?
Well, really, the hope is like I said, is within um, Morocco. I mean, the vision is the date is 2030, but the vision is really to get rid of bureaucracy, to make life easy for Moroccans and foreigners who reside in Morocco, is to be able to do things 24/7 and get documents instantaneously. That's what I insist on because we
Mhm.
have other initiatives that are physical and digital,
Mhm.
where you ask for it and then you go get it, or you ask for it and you wait for the mailman to bring you the paper. So we have to break
Yeah.
away with these. We have to deliver documents instantaneously to people when they need them. We have the data, we have the laws, we have the technology, we have the signed MOU. Nothing is going to stop us now, not even bureaucracy, because bureaucracy is what stops people from doing anything. So
Indeed, indeed. Thank you, Tarek. And something I would love to add is very important also information that you've been celebrated as and African Entrepreneur of the Year. And rightly so, do you see Wraqi.ma or its model being replicated across other African nations? Question. And second, what's your vision across borders, collaboration in governance with East Africa countries?
Well, as an African, of course, my ambition is not only for Morocco but for the entire continent. We have Africa is the future and Africa is the present for all entrepreneurs and innovators because we have a particular set of problems that require a particular set of African knowledge. I mean, we're no longer in a gesture of waiting for the North to come save us or show us what to do. We know exactly what to do, and we're willing to work with each other and trust each other. So, of course, my team and I, and even the ministry, dream of a version of Wraqi everywhere, solving problems in Africa. What's interesting about East Africa is that they were the first to explore the PPP model in all sorts of industries, whether it's energy, transportation. So it would be much easier to deploy Wraqi in English-speaking Africa because it has less bureaucracy than in French-speaking one. So again, the nature of the two types of countries, they have their own set of challenges, but this is time for solutions that are 100% African.
Amazing, thank you. And now with AI, we've been talking about artificial intelligence lately, 5G now and blockchain becoming real tools nowadays. What kind of digital citizen do you envision from tomorrow for tomorrow's Africa?
Well, Africa is a young country or a young continent. The youth of Africa has a lot to benefit from AI. I mean, we already, as IT professionals, we already every day we're coding less and less. And designing and building solutions is going to become easy thanks to AI. And the fact that our youth now has access to AI or must have cheaper access to AI, like I said, through propagation of cheaper internet connection, cheaper devices, and of course, access to this technology should be a priority for decision makers to ensure that Africa does not miss its place from this digital revolution. I mean, everything is happening so fast. Like I said, in our domain, we're seeing time reduction. We're reducing 10 times the effort right now, and every day we're coding less and less. So we have got to get our youth, in their culture, in their mindset. We have got to get them used to these tools and trained on them and let them explore their potential and see what problems they can solve for the continent.
Okay, while you were talking about youth and the message for youth, what advice would you give to Pan African and young African tech leaders who want to innovate with purpose, not just for profit?
I know, Miriam, I don't like to give advices to anybody because, I'm in no position to do that. But what I always tell students and young people is that, everyone is ambitious, everyone has dreams. And I think the most noble way to get to those dreams is to find a problem within your community, within your country, within your continent, and just design an elegant solution to that problem. And when I say elegant, I'm not just talking about the user experience and ergonomy, but I'm talking about inclusivity. You know, we have to be inclusive in our approach. We have to create value in the approach. And once you are inclusive, and you have to co-build your solutions. Nobody can build something alone. You have to identify with people, find good team, build good teams, build good communities, and really aim for long-term return, not a short-term one. And I go back to Wraqi again. Maybe if I knew this was going to take 10 years, I wouldn't have done it. But when you look at the long-term impact of what your solution can do, when you're able to grasp and touch the long-term impact, that's when you know that you have a winning solution, that you have a winning project, and that's what success is.
Great. And finally, maybe the last question, what is your biggest dream? And what still keeps you up at night? What's the challenge you are most passionate about solving next?
Well, I think Wraqi took its toll on me. I think My biggest dream is to retire, but no, actually, the dream, joy is in the process. You have to be able to live your dream every day. So I think my team and I are living it. When we see millions of people using our apps, whether it's Wraqi or other apps in Morocco, that's really fulfilling. So I hope to be able to say that for as long as possible and continue to create solutions that positively impact the daily life of, you know, citizens here in Morocco and in Africa. So that's the dream, is to keep on going.
Thank you, Tarik, for this powerful exchange. You've shown us that real innovation isn't just building apps, it's building trust, inclusion, and dignity into our systems. So from GITEX to grassroots, from Morocco to the continent, may your work continue to lead the way for accessible, empowering governments. And to our listeners, check out Wraqi.ma and Algo Consulting Group. And remember, big dreams are still in Africa. Let's build them together. And we're here to empower African leaders for a sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you.